Hello, everybody, and welcome. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever is relevant to you right now. It really is beautiful to be all together for the next hour and really focus our time and energy on what it is that we are diligently working towards and creating in our lives. The fact that you're here live or even taking time to experience the replay indicates quite strongly that you're in this, in the midst of your upgrade journey, and you're eager to succeed, eager to experience more joy along the way, and to fully embed and integrate and actualize what it is that you are being called towards. So it's an exciting moment for you right now, because during our next hour together, it's not so much about the intellectual knowledge that I'm going to be sharing with you. It's more about absorbing the subliminals, picking up on whatever it is that is really relevant to you. And sometimes we don't intellectually know what that is. So I ask you to set aside any distractions, give yourself this time to fully focus and fully be in this moment. As I've been sharing here in India, we are just coming out of a week-long festival, the festival of Holi. It's the Hindu festival, and it represents new beginnings, really. It represents fresh energy, colorful, vibrant expansiveness, and also moving through any densities that may have been occurring of late. So I'm excited to get started. I'll say from the outset, if you have any questions, I will be opening up right at the end. If you want to ask a question, then drop me a message on Facebook Messenger. I'll be checking in there along the way. And let's begin. So we're going to talk about the keys to radical results, successful upgrades, and deep transformations today. And as I was putting this presentation together for you guys, I actually realized that this is a huge topic. And it's taken me the best part of 10 years to piece together these teachings. So without wanting to mislead you and make you feel as though there are, 6 or 7 key steps to achieving these results, and these are the ones that you need to follow, and this is absolute, and this is black and white. I didn't want to lead you up that sort of garden path, so I'll make the disclaimer now. What I've done is put together what I feel is most relevant for now. So what is most relevant and what is going to be of most value and use to you now. And you'll notice along the way that there are a lot of truths in this presentation, truths that we usually can only absorb and assimilate in the doing phase, in the action phase of an upgrade or a transformation. Because it doesn't matter how many books we read, how much studying we do, it's never the same as being inside of the process and the journey and observing and feeling and experiencing. So this is what I'm trying to bring to you today, and I'm excited for what's to come. So let's get cracking. So for those of you who don't really know me very well, who am I? Well, I'm an entrepreneur, a lifelong entrepreneur. What does that mean? Well, for me at this point, it means creating things out of nothing, seemingly nothing, where actually that nothing is based on an idea, an inspiration, a deep, roaring passion, a calling. And an entrepreneur is steeped in determination and the ability and the requirement to see things through from start to finish, whatever those points look like. I'm also a teacher. You'll get a snippet of what that looks like over the next hour. I'm a motivational speaker. It's actually also one of my passions. I'm a coach and a mentor. And I have clients all over the world. And I help them to get clear on what they don't like about their life. Oftentimes the clarity is what's missing. But I also help them to actualize their ideas, their desires, and ensure that they are getting the results that they want. Getting somebody from A all the way to Z and seeing things through with them. I'm an upgrade expert. How am I an expert? Well, I've done it for myself countless times and also for my clients. And it's not something you can learn in a textbook, guys. It's not something you go to school to learn, despite all of the certifications and studies. We were never really taught the true meaning and essence of what it is to deeply and profoundly upgrade and transform. So hence I call myself an expert. An author. I'm currently writing my first book, so I felt it important to share that with you. I'm a mother. I have two teenagers, 15 and 16. I'm also a survivor. And you may resonate with this. Time and time again, coming through those breakdown to breakthrough moments and emerging bigger, better, and stronger. And of course, I'm also a rising woman, the same way that you are a rising man or a rising woman. And that is key. In order for us to keep doing this work, we have to deeply understand that there's no beginning and there's no end. And if we think we've got to the end, then we're very misguided. And oftentimes, it brings us to a very stagnant place. Evolution is never ending. Free upgrade. What does that mean to you? I want you to picture yourself at an airport, at the check-in counter. You hand over your documents to the attendant there, and They take some time to study your documents. You get a little bit concerned, perhaps, wondering what's taking so long. And the attendant glances up at you and says, "Sir, it seems as though you're long overdue for your free upgrade. We're going to put you in first class today. Would that be okay?" Now, I have an idea that you'd welcome it with open arms. You'd jump at the chance, and you probably wouldn't give it too much thought. We are offered free upgrades in our lives all the time. Yet we overthink, push them away, ignore, don't feel worthy. I imagine once you've been checked in at the airport and directed to the first class lounge, that you'd embrace it. You'd help yourself to refreshments. You'd lay back in the comfy sofas, gazing out of the well-situated window. You'd enjoy the fast track movement through the airport, avoiding the lineups, avoiding the crowds. And once you're on the aircraft, you'll settle into your very spacious seat, study the extensive dinner menu, and accept with open arms your free eye mask and socks and toiletries, sipping on your champagne or orange juice, settling into the comfort of your upgrade. Yet in life, for the most part, we push against the upgrade. We ignore, for many different reasons. I'm not worthy. It's too hard. I can't. What about the kids? What about my lack of education? So on and so forth. I'm sure you've got a ton of your own that you could slot in there. But I want to paint the picture a little further for you. On the flight, the attendant comes up to you and says, "Sir, for this particular upgrade, you're required to pour your own champagne. Here's the bottle. You can have as many bottles as you like. But for this flight, you have to pick up the bottle and pour the liquid into the glass if you want to enjoy this beautiful bubbly beverage." And that is what creating and actualizing our next upgrade is in our life. We often shy away from it, which I don't think we would do if we were offered limitless champagne on a flight, right? Well, I might, because I don't really drink much, but the essence is there of the story, right? In life, because our inner self kind of knows that there's going to be work involved, if we are going to move from one state of being to an upgraded one, then we have to begin to be, do, and think in an upgraded way. And of course, that requires work. So next time you're feeling the pull towards something, next time you're feeling restless in a situation, restless in a situation that you felt that this is it for life, I'm set, everything's amazing, there's nothing I have to change right now. Yet at some point you start to feel that restlessness. We fight against it, don't we? Sometimes we feel that if we start to pursue the new upgrade, accept it with open arms, it means that the choices we made in the past were wrong. And nobody likes to be wrong. Not to mention the uncertainties, not to mention the staircase ahead of us that's completely pitch black, aside from the very first step, perhaps. So we have to get used to being okay with pouring our own champagne for a little while. We have to get used to being okay with the extent of our evolutionary nature. Because, especially for you guys, you're listening to something like this, it indicates to me that you are evolving and upgrading already. And maybe you've got here by default. Maybe this is all very new to you and you're just looking for answers right now. By your nature, you are an evolutionary being. What does that mean? It means that it's inevitable that you will outgrow some things and situations and circumstances that were once a perfect fit for you. Because it's as we immerse ourselves in situations, whether it's a vocation, a job, a relationship, a location of a living location. We are placed in situations to learn and grow. And once we outgrow that particular situation, for example, once we've learned all we can learn, once we've gone that sort of, you know, on the long haul in a certain situation, it's time for that to be upgraded. So what does it take to upgrade? I've talked about the invisible pull already. Sometimes we get these inner rumblings of eagerness, interest, perhaps you become interested in something new. Or oftentimes it's the rumblings of dissatisfaction. Sometimes despair, especially if we leave things unattended, if we don't pay attention to those little subtle feelings. And let me tell you, you don't want to be ignoring those pulls for very long. I always say the universe will reach out to us with the tickle of a feather, sort of using one little finger to beckon you and sort of say, hey, look over here, pay attention to this. What about this? Excuse me. And oftentimes we're too busy to pay attention, or it's just too inconvenient. Whether it's a dream that you want to be moving into actualizing, whether it's a situation that is no longer serving you, whether it's a habit that is really holding you back, a mindset. Sometimes we just do not pay attention. And the universe is kind. It'll indulge you several times. You'll get a few opportunities to notice the feather tickles. But once we run out of those opportunities, the reaching out that the universe does no longer is with the feathers. it reaches for the baseball bat or the sledgehammer. And I've had many of each of those, from one extreme to the other. It's possible, once we get to a certain state of being, becoming more aware, that we can notice when we're being gently guided. But for the most part, we need those sledgehammers. Can you relate to that? Have you ever had anything like that happen? And what does that look like? It looks like life literally crumbling around you. Your life, the constructs of your life as you knew it, imploding in front of you. Literally, the ground is taken from beneath you. And yeah, it's not always a pretty sight. It's definitely not easy. And suddenly we are having to not only go through difficult moments like loss or heartbreak, uncertainties perhaps in our finances, relationship breakdowns, abandonment, betrayal, illness, grief. Not only are we experiencing the extent, the fullness of the trauma in that period of time, but we're also getting to know ourselves as this almost complete stranger. The breakdown to breakthrough occurrence really yanks us into this brand new space of being. And why? What is this for? Well, we didn't pay attention to the little feathers, and that's okay, because maybe we didn't have the capacity at that time to know what to do and how to navigate and re-navigate and reroute. So we all go through some breakdown to breakthroughs, but hopefully we begin to get the gist quite early on. I've been through many, and we won't have enough time for me to share too many of those stories in this hour. But when life observes that you are not living to your fullest capacity, when life sees that you have started to wake up to a new idea, a new set of truths, and you're not actualizing them, you're not embracing them, maybe for many different reasons, as I've pre-mentioned, fear, convenience or inconvenience, lack of self-belief, and then the list is endless, right? For whatever reason, the universe will absolutely, excuse me, come in and do whatever it thinks is necessary to yank you into a state of awareness, into a state of openness. Because when we are cracked open in these moments of, literally, it's like taking an axe to the coconut and just cracking it open, and all of that beautiful coconut water spills out from within. When that happens to us, not only are we releasing all of the gunk, we are exposing all of the beauty. So life's invisible pull isn't always something that we pay attention to. And when we don't, life will crack us open and set things in motion. And from that point, it's then our responsibility to show up, to continue, show up regularly, daily even, to make sure that the process is strong, as joyful as it can be, successful, and eternal, really. As I said, you will be eternally upgrading. Just think about a situation that you were really comfortable in and actually you really loved. It was perfect for you, and then it came to a point where it no longer was. You outgrew it. So I have an equation that I have put together to just describe really what I believe to be the process, that the foundation rather of any upgrade journey. So I talk about life's invisible pull. And when we think about where that stems from, where that comes from, we actually can track back to the heart. The heart has been proven to be equally as intelligent as the mind. But what happens is very early on in our life, for whatever reason, many different reasons, unique to each individual, we stop paying attention to what is in our heart, to the desires that are residing in our heart. And that's exactly what we do. We push them down, so they just stay stuck. Add to that all of the sort of barriers and protective walls that we place around our heart. The communication lines between the heart and the mind start to weaken. And add to that the ongoing debate, heart versus mind. You know, we hear it all the time, right? But we're often told we need to choose heart or mind. Which one are you choosing? Well, I say we need both. I say it's paramount that we honor and experience and include these two very powerful parts of ourselves. The heart actually is where our truth lies. When I'm guiding somebody to get clear on what their bigger vision is, I take them straight to the heart space. But then we need to call in the mind to create structure and strategy with the sort of floaty, unstructured information that we're getting from our heart. Because oftentimes we are given a vision or a strong desire or a strong pull to something that we have no idea how we're going to actualize that, make that real. So it's important to bring the mind in, but in a way that is expansive, okay? In a way that is not allowing our lower mind to get in the way. And what does the lower mind do? It wants to feed us fears and doubts. And it's the best troubleshooter ever. And sometimes that's necessary, right? But we have to be aware of which mind, which the lower or the higher mind is being utilized. So heart plus mind. And I say, and this is a reminder because you probably already know this, that we are not doing this alone. We are in a co-creative partnership with the universe. You could use the terminology that you prefer in this moment. The universe, as I explained earlier on, always, always, always has our back. Even in the moments where we cannot, perhaps will not, do what's needed. Also, by our nature as physical beings, we're quite limited at times. The mind can only stretch so far, and sometimes so can the heart, depending on where we are on our healing journey or upgrade journey. The heart is pretty limitless, and the heart can take us to places that we could never imagine in our mind. But the bottom line is we're humans. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, but we cannot disregard what I call our humanisms. So that's where the universe comes in. When we open up the doors and allow the universe to sit around the board, the table of the board meeting, and be on the board of directors, we're giving permission for anything and everything that we have yet to feel, notice, observe, desire. We're giving permission for that to occur. I had very early on in my journey, in my training, I had a teacher who used to always say, ask for what you want, get clear on what you want, but then always leave room for the or better. And this is exactly what it is. The universe can see beyond, beyond, beyond. And it always knows what the better version of your vision is. And as we move along this journey, it will be at times ridiculously uncomfortable. Not just in the early stages. In fact, in the early stages, it can actually be quite cool. Because I often notice that we're given a sort of grace period. I don't know about you, but when I first kind of woke up, it was like I discovered this amazing hidden land. And things started to flow synchronistically, and I started to see everything with a new, shiny, glimmery truth. It was amazing. But then quite quickly, the meditation and the journaling and all the good work that we put in, that I thought, well, if I do this, I'm set for life. No more heartbreak, no more breakdowns, no more deep transformations. I'm transformed. Yeah, well, the grace period doesn't last very long. It's a bit like the honeymoon period in a relationship or marriage. But I see that the grace period happens so that we can ground firmly into this beautiful upgrade phase. This never-ending upgrade phase, but in the early stages, and it happened to me many times where I kind of half woke up. You sort of are pushed into something. In my early teens, it happened when I went through a period of eating disorders. I immersed, I self-healed, I was cracked open, I upgraded, the whole 9 yards, but I didn't truly wake up the way I did sort of 10 years later. So the grace period is provided for us so that we can really get firmly grounded in this new state of being, and then in come the assignments. It's a bit like the first week of school or college. You're kind of eased in gently, aren't you? Given a false sense of security, and that's okay. This is not a sick joke. I see it as actually a very concrete strategy, if you can imagine any kind of concreteness in the universe, since it's so expansive and so floaty. This is kind of a concrete strategy to assist us. And I see that it's important that along the way, as we are going through the process of creating, building, and attracting, that we create some kind of comfort for ourselves within the discomfort. And that can take many different forms for many different people. Spending time doing something that allows you to just slip into a state of ease and joy. For me, I'm able to really just lose myself, aside from my morning practice, which I do all the time, and it serves me so well. But when I speak of comfort within the discomfort, I like to watch my favorite TV program, which makes me laugh. It's familiar. I've seen it. I've been watching it for 20 years over and over again at various times. I don't do it all the time, but when I'm in a space where I need to just tap out, it's Friends, the series that I go to. I know what's going to happen next. I haven't got to worry or be on the edge of my seat, that something uncertain is going to happen. And it makes me laugh. And I also love to cook. Going into the kitchen is my safe space. So I don't know what that would be for you, but finding comfort within the discomfort and falling back on that in times of uncertainty, in times of real change, because what upgrade means to bring about change, right, will really serve you well. As I said, these are just like 5% of what I can give you around this, but we will do another webinar. I've already decided. So take what you need right now. And again, do ask any questions if you have any over on Facebook Messenger. So, a leap of faith. Sometimes we have to take a leap of faith. Sometimes life puts us in that situation where we either leap or we retreat. And if we've been chipping away at this for a long time, the present situation can oftentimes become so unbearable and so desperate that we just go for it. And look at these two people. They've got their arms in the air. Heart is open, and it really does look as though they are leaping with certainty. Like they are just in the leap. It's not always that easy, is it? I mean, these guys have got a body of water to leap into. They can see kind of quite clearly where they are going to end up. But in life, we do not always have that clarity. We do not always have the next step mapped out for us. And that is what can oftentimes cause us to stay stuck. I've done various cliff jumps over the past few years, and I've done them for many reasons. One of them is because I always take it very seriously that I need to walk my talk as a teacher, coach, and mentor. Now, if I'm asking people to take huge leaps in their lives, I've got to be able to do it in mine, right? So, of course, I do it in my life, but it's very much a metaphor for me. And I've been on the edge of that cliff, literally shaking, wondering what the heck am I doing? Even despite the certainty of the water below me. So when we don't have the whole journey mapped out, or even if we do, a leap of faith, even though sometimes we are forced to that point and we have no choice than to leap, but a leap of faith is not always doable. It's not always the only route to your upgrade. Oftentimes we're taught You've got to leap, otherwise nothing will change. And yes, while that has much truth, I have created a different kind of system, maybe even sort of modernized the idea of a leap of faith. And I describe that as going for a hike on uncertain terrain. It may be uneven terrain, it may be rocky, maybe quite hilly, gravelly. And as we're hiking, in order to continue the journey, we must step out with awareness. Every time we place our foot, one foot in front of the other, I suggest if a leap is way too big, then we take the steps that we are able to in this moment. And before we put our full weight on our next step on our foot, we sort of wiggle it around a little bit. Maybe we've come to a piece of ground that is unstable to the eye. So sort of testing the stability and also our ability to hold ourselves. Excuse me. Our ability to hold ourselves within that next step, it creates this safety net and also comfort within the discomfort. We can bring that into it too. So if a leap isn't always possible, then go on a hike and either take a step, a stride. Some days strides will be easy, but other days all we can do is shuffle, whether it's on uneven terrain or even in the very safety of our own home. You see, a shuffle does not require us to take our foot off the ground. And some days that's all we can manage, but as long as we are moving in a forward direction, that for me, knowing what it feels like sometimes when we're on this journey, we can feel stuck, we can feel petrified, we can feel completely overwhelmed and confused. So knowing all of these things, on a day where a shuffle is all that you can manage, that for me is the equivalent of a leap. So if you're not feeling like leaping, please do not do nothing. Please do not stay stuck. Please do not feel inferior or that you're not making progress. Because as long as you're facing forwards, actually some days all we can do is face forwards. I know, I've been there. So a leap is not always possible. And when it's too much, take a shuffle. So radical results. Radical results, for radical results, we must start at the beginning. Okay, and I've talked already about the correlation between heart plus mind plus universe equals upgrade. So we must first start from the heart, and knowing what is in our heart will connect us very closely to the bigger vision of our life. Not just a vision that we've frivolously put together based on something we've seen on TV or what's going on next door in our neighbour's house or driveway. When we connect to pure desires, I categorize desires into two separate categories. Internally inspired desires are the ones that we are guided to clarity from our heart. They're coming from a very pure space inside of us. And I'm smiling really, really broadly now because I know the power of this connection. Once you are able to really fully feel your inner guidance, from your heart and your intuition, sort of the middle chakras of your body, you'll be more able to trust yourself and life itself. So internally inspired desires are the ones that feel so compelling. They are the ones that feel so outrageous sometimes, but at the same time, they feel so right. They feel so attainable and doable for as long as we're residing in the heart space. Externally inspired desires are the ones that come from our culture, our society, our family, our spouse, our vocation, our employer. Internally inspired desires are moving you towards a heightened state of being, living, and doing, and they are moving you more securely in the direction and on the path of your upgrade. Upgrade, as I've said, is your true nature. Right now, in this very moment, you are upgrading. Externally inspired desires come from a place of lack, fear, and inauthenticity. We often don't realize that we are really fighting to build or create or reach a goal, and it's just so hard, and it's not going so well, and we're feeling so unhappy, or maybe we've even achieved the goal, right? And when we get there, it just feels so empty, so misaligned. So check where your desires are coming from. If they're coming from something outside of you, and it's okay to be inspired by something outside of you. Maybe you see, somebody doing something that really inspires you, and you see yourself doing that too. That's all perfect, because we're constantly being sort of guided and given signs and signals from the external, but it depends on how you feel it inside. So check where your desires are coming from. They need to be coming from an internally inspired place, and they need to be of pure nature, and they need to be guiding you into a better place, a better version of yourself, and a better version of your life. And even if those desires don't make sense, maybe you're being guided into a space where it actually doesn't feel as though it's going to benefit you. Oftentimes it's the lessons that we need to learn along the way that become the stepping stones and the catalysts for the next expansive phase. Okay. So in order to achieve radical results, we need to take action. So once we're clear on what we want, we then must sit down with our mind and create a strategy, a plan of action. And the questions we need to ask are, what do I need to do on a regular basis that will get me to the next phase of this upgrade journey? What do I need to do over a long period of time that will ensure that I am experiencing the results that I want? Now, I categorize actions again into two separate categories. First category, directly related upgrade actions. Directly related upgrade actions. And these are actions that will be obviously connected to your desired results. So let's say, for example, you want to change jobs and you obviously need to make some job applications and attend some interviews. Those are quite blatantly directly related to the upgrade that you desire. Okay, there's no doubt that they're related. Indirectly related upgrade actions are actions that will support your state of being and shift you into, over time, into a conducive state of being that will be in support and in alignment with where you want to be. So let's take the new job example. Let's say you've been in your current job for uncountable years, let's say like 15, 20 years, you've been in your current job, you want to change jobs, you want to change even careers, or shift a little bit in your own career arena. The directly related upgrade action is to apply and interview, maybe update your CV, so on and so forth. The indirectly related upgrade actions would be to tend to things like your mindset, your beliefs around your ability to convert this desire into reality. So these are actions that you would do on a regular basis. And if you're asking me for advice, I'd say daily. Things that get you into a good, aligned space. Like, let's give you some examples. I won't spend too much time on this because they are unique and individual for each situation, but also for each person. So we're talking things like meditation, we're talking things like affirmations, we're talking things like journaling, anything that brings you into a good connection with your inner self, a good state of awareness, but also into a high vibrational place. Any kind of change takes its toll on a person, okay, for many different reasons. As soon as we step into the upgrade space, into the space of I want to change something, it means we have to shed and leave behind a ton of things that we can't take with us into the new phase. And that can be difficult and painful, and it can bring up a lot of old wounds, limiting beliefs, so on and so forth. So the indirectly related upgrade actions are going to be something that you repeat on a regular basis, okay, forming the foundations not only of the upgrade journey that you're currently in, that particular phase, but also the foundations of you, your being, okay, your state of being. A state is made up of your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your environment, what you're putting into your body, what you're ingesting, not only sort of through your mouth, but also what you're ingesting energetically, and also what you're seeing in terms of media, social media, and so forth. Okay. So what else does it take to get radical results? Okay, as I said, these are snippets, guys. This is just like literally like 5% of the humongous bank of content that I have developed over 10 years. But this one is absolutely paramount, and that is to become ruthless. Okay, it's quite a bold statement, isn't it? So I'm going to let us sit with it for a moment. Become ruthless. What does that mean to you? And perhaps would you be willing to become ruthless? Let's unpack it a little bit, though. A lot of us hear that word and it can feel a bit icky. It can feel a bit not nice, in terms of being ruthless can sometimes not make us a nice person, okay? And actually, when we make the commitment to ourselves, okay, instantly we shift into becoming a nice person, a good person, because we're no longer steeped in resentment. We're no longer steeped in blaming and shaming and being the victim, okay? So when we commit, excuse me, to our upgrade journey and to our desires and our, life being the best possible version that it could be, we instantly are a nice person. So being ruthless doesn't mean that we kind of step all over everybody and, discard everybody. What it does mean is that we become willing to do whatever it takes. And that might mean making some tough decisions. It might mean making some sacrifices. But if we are doing that and gaining this whole other upgraded, increased quality of life and self, then I'd say it's absolutely worth it. So maybe look at what's going on right now for you. What have you been sort of hiding behind and hanging on to? You know, when we're not ruthless, we hide behind a ton of excuses, okay? And that may mean that we've got to get tough with ourselves and say, you know, no more sleeping in, or no more making up, I haven't got time for A, B, C, no more, no more. Or maybe it's going to move into being a bit tougher with the people around us. So I don't know what that means for you. Maybe have a little look at that. Okay, this last one here, healthy obsession, is again, it's ambiguous. And with all of these things, with being ruthless and also healthy obsession, there is a very fine line. It's actually almost an invisible line between sort of healthy and empowered, and a little bit sort of narcissistic and unhealthy obsession. So again, that's going to be something that you will need to connect in with, something that you will need to observe for yourself, and it's a process. Okay, it's a process. But healthy obsession is something that will fuel you getting up, you know, at 5:30 a.m. to go for that run, or cook yourself, you know, 3 meals in advance because you're going on a journey or a trip and you want to make sure you're eating well. Healthy obsession. And the thing is with healthy obsession is that a lot of the times the people around us can make us feel as though we are a bit crazy, because they do not have the same affiliation, the same love, the same passion for the desired dream outcome that we do. They don't feel what we feel. So to them, these sort of quote unquote extreme behaviors may kind of look a little bit weird, obsessive, but also a lot of their stuff might come up, because if we're not doing things that they think we should do for them, then the go-to response would be, you know, you're crazy, you're obsessive, you're to the extreme, and so on. So I want to flag that up now. You know, if you're really serious about getting to where you want to be, if you're really serious about continuously uncovering what's hidden sort of underneath the surface, then you have to develop some element of healthy obsession. And find what that means for you. Find what that means for you. And as I said, awareness is key. Awareness will be your power tool in all of these situations. All of the sharings that I have shared with you, your awareness is what will fuel you, not only in continuing to stay on path, but also assisting you in finding comfort within discomfort, assisting you in connecting into your internally inspired desires, assisting you in continuing to trudge through the gunk, showing up for those breakdown to breakthrough moments. Like, continuing on this journey takes an amazing amount of self-awareness, and that does not happen overnight. What does happen is over time, as you continue to repeat and this is where your indirectly related upgrade actions come in, building that close communicative relationship between yourself and your inner self will allow you to sort of have some grounding as you move forward, and just not and hold you back from, you know, those downward spiraling moments where you know, things aren't going well. You're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. You know, you're carrying out all of your actions that you said you were going to do. You're meditating. You're taking the directly related upgrade actions. You know, everything, like, you're doing all that you can, and things just, you know, they're just not moving. Things are stuck. Okay. And when we can have a good level of self-awareness, we can take ourselves inside and become like the observer. So first of all, we feel what's going on, and we observe what's going on, and then we can take a step back and we can begin to decipher and unravel the real truth. Because I believe that there are two truths, two different types of truths that are the backbone of every single situation.
So, what is this about? Wait, she's dead.
1 second, we've got a little bit of there we go. I believe there are two truths to every single situation. Okay. Oh, we've lost that one. I don't know how to go back. Yes. And it's important as we begin to raise our awareness that when things are really not going so well for us, and what we want to do is downward spiral into that dark space, right? That we take some time to understand what is going on from these two opposite standpoints. Okay. So let's say something's happened. Maybe someone's done something. Okay. Something's not going well. Someone's done something. And it sucks. It's tough. It's hard. We're almost perhaps on the verge of quitting. Okay. It's important to see that the reality of what's happening is real, and it's having real effects on us. The real truth is what you're seeing and experiencing on the outside. The lack of results, for example, the difficult situation that you're experiencing, perhaps in in your job. Maybe the business isn't going so well. So that's the real truth, and it could be, you know, a broader topic, or it could be something very, very specific. The spiritual truth is what I want you to understand. And let me just backtrack a second. The real truth is what we feel. It's what impacts us, and it's what kind of wants to send us into this I'm getting into bed and not getting out for a week kind of situation, right? And we must absolutely honor and accept and respect that side of us. Because as I said before, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but that doesn't mean that we negate all of our humanness. Because it's through being human that we learn and we grow and we assimilate and we nail those assignments. So the real truth has to be acknowledged. You did this, you've hurt me, I'm pissed off because something happened at work, I'm upset because I haven't lost the amount of weight that I had intended to this week, you know, whatever it was. Then we look at the spiritual truth. So the two different truths are the spiritual truth and the real truth. Okay. The spiritual truth is where your lessons lie. The spiritual truth is actually what you're being called to pay attention to. It's an invitation to become a better version of yourself. Okay. Deliberate creation. Okay. Deliberate creation is batted around, isn't it? It's quite commonly taught these days, and it's amazing that so many of us are tuning into this new way of being and understanding how truly powerful we are. But there's more to it. Beyond deliberate creation, beyond doing, you know, all of the work diligently at the beginning of an upgrade or continuously, you know, the action, you know, the desires, paying attention to it, you know, being ruthless, being relentless, healthy obsession, you know, being focused, all of those things. Beyond all of that, beyond asking and receiving, okay, is this kind of unseen process that's happening behind the scenes for us. And sometimes when we're in this deliberate creation mindset, because the truth is you are powerful. You can do something today that will affect tomorrow. You can act today to affect your future. That's a freaking profound truth, isn't it? Okay. But sometimes we get a little bit too embroiled in it. Okay. We get a little bit too embroiled in it. So beyond deliberate creation is that life is happening for you, not to you. Life is happening for you, not to you. So sometimes when we think it's a freaking sick joke that something's been yanked away from us, you know, like the wind has just been taken from us, our wings have been cut, and we think, well, how can I come back from this? Why are you messing with me, universe? It's really powerful to lean into the truth that life is happening for us, not to us. So every situation that arises, everything that happens or doesn't happen, depending on which one you're wanting, is an opportunity and a lesson in and of itself. So the question I want to share with you, maybe write it down. When something isn't going the way you wanted it to go, why is this happening? Why is this truly happening? And, you know, moving back into the spiritual truth of things as well. What is it that you are being called to pay attention to? Maybe release, maybe assimilate a lesson, release something that you've been hanging on to. Maybe it's a limiting belief or a limiting set of beliefs, a situation, a person, an idea, a worry, a fear. What are you being called to pay attention to that once you do pay attention to it, do the necessary deed, you will be, it's like literally the golden key that will unlock the next phase of your upgrade. So life happens for you, not to you. Why is this happening? So that's been a whistle-stop tour, really, of, like I said, 10 years worth of teaching, and there will be more. So please do stay tuned to on email and social media. But the final question I really want to leave you with is, are you willing? Are you willing? And this question may fall where it needs to right now for you. I know you're somewhat willing because you're watching this right now. So that we know that, that's a given, you're somewhat willing. But willingness, although it's the first step, sometimes when we don't know what to do next, when we don't have not even a third of the staircase illuminated, when we're standing perhaps on the edge of that cliff and we're looking down and we can see the water, we know we're going to jump into the water, but we don't know what's underneath it, you know. it's easy to close off, isn't it? It's easy to just keep doing what we've always been doing. Even though it's not been working, it's familiar. Or maybe it has been working, but not to the capacity that it could. Maybe you're just operating at 50% of your capacity. Maybe you're just living at 50% of the quality of your life right now. So when we are overwhelmed or confused, afraid, stuck, doubtful, anxious, disconnected to ourselves or the universe, disconnected to what we truly want. Maybe we're feeling despondent. Maybe we feel hacked off, that we've been chipping away at this for too many years. And we kind of fold our arms in a state of disgruntledness and just say, well, that's it, I'm not bothering anymore. The only thing we have left is our willingness. When all is said and done, even if you feel stuck, even if you feel hacked off, even if you feel resentful, even if you feel fearful, that's a tongue twister, even if you can just open up a little bit, if you just imagine a fan, you know, a fan that's open to its fullest capacity, we're not going to do that. Being willing, in a feeling sense, just opens us up enough without having to feel radically uncomfortable in that moment. A small crack is big enough for the universe to step in and help you. You don't have to take the whole journey in one day. And I speak to you if you're new to this journey, this work, or if you've been chipping away at it for too long and you're almost on the edge of saying, you know, 2 fingers up. I'm done. Whatever point you find yourself in, I want to encourage you to soften a little bit and reconnect to a state of willingness. When we are willing, we're stating that I'm scared, even though I'm doubtful, even though I don't know what to do, even though it doesn't seem like anything works, even though my resources aren't there, even though my education isn't there, even though everyone's against me, even though, I'm saying, even though, ... I'm still here and I'm still willing, because I'm not going to give up on myself. Because too often we get embroiled in the external. That's blocking me. I can't because of that. The excuses. It's just not working. The circumstances didn't line up. I didn't get the job. They wronged me. I'm not well enough, strong enough, fit enough, energetic enough. Even though we may have all of those thoughts knocking around, when we say I'm willing to start, that's like the gun going off at the beginning of a race. It's like saying, boom, let's do this. So if you feel willing, if you're in a space right now where maybe you don't have clarity and don't have answers, but you feel the rumblings of something new on the horizon. You feel as though you're being called to something. Let's talk. Also, if you know exactly what you want, but don't know how to achieve it, and would like to be fast-tracked, supported, assisted, motivated, provided with tools and strategies that are unique to you, that will ensure that you actualize your goals, let's talk. Whatever point you find yourself in right now, maybe you are in the midst of a breakdown to break through. Maybe you cannot even fathom the idea of breaking through. You cannot see the light. Again, let's talk. Whatever stage you're at, if any of what I've shared with you today resonates, feels useful, feels impactful, feels desirable, let's talk. And when I say let's talk, let's spend 20 to 30 minutes focusing just on you. Laser focusing through the crap. Laser focusing into clarity and laser focusing into momentum. Who here wants fast results? I definitely do. Who here wants to feel better? Who here wants to be waking up every morning and even though not being in the final vision, waking up and being in the process of actualizing the final vision, feeling the differences, seeing the differences and reaping those radical results. If you want to spend that time with me over the next week, please send an email to the email address on the screen. It's maria@upgradewithmariak.com. Or if you're on Facebook with me, you can drop me a message in Messenger. And thank you for taking this time out for yourself in your upgrade journey. It's important for you, but it's also important for everyone in your life. When you take back your power, you can move mountains. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Until next time.